There you go. Okay, so again, good morning, everyone. This is a webinar on how to deal with anger and create some resilience around this emotion. Okay, so today we're going to examine the topics of what is anger, why we get angry, our emotions around anger, and how to create some resilience around it. Okay. All right, so first and foremost, what is anger? So for those of you who have the PowerPoint presentation, anger is a basic human emotion that is experienced by all people. And I think everyone needs to understand that it's a feeling, it's an emotion that everyone experiences at some time. It's typically triggered by an emotional hurt. Anger is usually experienced as an unpleasant feeling, and it usually occurs when we've been like injured or mistreated, possibly even opposed on our own views, when we're faced with obstacles that stop us from attaining our goals, things like that. The experience of anger will vary widely on how it occurs in people. Some people, it is quite an intense feeling and it can last for quite a long time, while others, it's not so intense and they're able to get over it quite quickly. And that's where the resilience comes in. So people's individual thresholds, anger thresholds, they vary, as well as how, you know, comfortable some people are feeling angry. Some people get angry while seldom others don't. Some people just seem to manage that feeling and don't really express the anger. Some people are very aware of when they are angry, while others fail to recognise when it actually occurs. And some experts from the research that I've done on this topic have suggested that an adult gets angry about once a day and annoyed or peeved around 3 times a day. So that's pretty interesting. Okay, so why we get angry. Here's just some of the reasons why we get angry, and I have got a few more. Our expectations are not met. So something doesn't go the way we think it should. We try to take control over the situation by getting angry about it. The next one, when we feel threatened. Often when we feel threatened, we go into fight and flight or freeze mode, depending on your train of thought. And it may not even be about a real situation. We've all seen us people, maybe not yourself in particular, get angry about something that isn't a threat at all. Like, you know, potentially someone thinks that they're looking at them you know, a funny way, and they're actually not. So that's what that can go into when we feel threatened. Sometimes it's not even a real situation, but something that we've just made up. Grief, whether that's the loss of a loved one or a friend, someone close. Grief can also be about losing your job. You can grieve all sorts of things. It's not just about losing someone close to you. It's also about just losing anything you can feel grief about. Physical illnesses, mental illnesses, embarrassment, and, you know, all sorts of things, humiliation, deadlines, disappointment, financial problems, being told that you have a serious illness, which falls under physical illnesses. The fact is, anything can actually trigger an angry reaction, depending on who you are and your life's experiences and your beliefs. You know, any sort of traumatic event can you can experience anger from, and you know, it is a psychological process that we go through. So our emotions around anger. So anger is a normal emotion that everyone experiences from time to time. It is absolutely well and truly normal. However, if a person feels unable to control their anger, it can cause problems in the relationships, whether that be at work or your personal life, or just in general when people meet you, ideally. And, you know, it can really inhibit your quality of life. You know, and as I mentioned before, it's an integral part of the flight, or freeze system that helps protect ourselves from dangers and threat. So ideally, you know, it is a normal emotion to feel. It's just how you control that emotion and the depth that you take that emotion to. And here we've got our core hurts. So from what I mean by our core hurts is the root of the anger. And it usually does come from some sort of childhood, deeper experience, where these things have been unhealed, and ideally they can be completely unrelated events. Things like criticism from a loved one, perceived criticism, because often, again, we make up things that don't necessarily happen. So, you know, if these sorts of things are unchecked, it can really lead to something that turns out of control. And again, anger is not inherently bad. It is a normal emotion to protect us from our fight, flight, or freeze. So a lot of the emotions behind anger, these are the main ones that I've listed, is fear, guilt, anxiety, shame, embarrassment, betrayal, jealousy, sadness, hurt, and worry. These, in my research of looking into this subject, these are the main emotions that we find around anger. When you feel anger, it's really about stopping and asking yourself if you are feeling any of these emotions, so you can actually get to the root cause of what the anger is. When it comes to things like fear, you know, there's an old saying, you can back a dog into a corner before it bites. You know, what are you afraid of? You know, do you feel trapped? When it comes to shame, that is linked to so many things, and people with humiliation, embarrassment, feeling disrespected, vulnerability, all these things are linked to shame, and people don't actually realize how much is linked to the emotion of shame. Betrayal, that's also linked to the emotion of shame, especially from those that we put trust in. So some of the literature I've read and the research has even defined pain and a sense of hurt. So a physical pain and an emotional pain can be the root cause of the emotion of anger. So I suppose the key to getting to the root cause of anger is really understanding when you're angry to step back and reflect, because it's most likely linked to a belief or relationship that has happened in the span of your lifetime. So here I've got the key is getting to the root of the anger, which may or may not be linked to a specific event. As we spoke about, the fact your anger is most likely tied to a belief or relationship over the span of your lifetime. So how to create resilience around getting angry. So basically there is 3 types of anger. We've got passive aggression, and by that I mean often you don't admit that you're angry. Maybe you're a person who doesn't like confrontation. So this is called passive aggression. Then you have open aggression. People have a tendency to lash out. This is where the anger and rage is. Becoming physically and verbally aggressive you can really hurt yourself and other people. And that's open aggressive. Assertive anger. is a healthy way of dealing with anger, because this is where you are in a controlled and confident moment. You are talking, you are listening, you are reflecting before you react, and you are open to help dealing with the situation. So assertive anger is something that can help relationships grow. It means that you think before you speak, and you are confident in what you are saying. You're flexible to the other person's side. It means that you are being patient. You're seeing the perspective of the other person. You're not raising your voice. You're communicating effectively, and you're allowing people to understand your feelings around the situation. You're communicating your feelings around why you're feeling this way, and really trying to understand how other people are feeling in the situation. I think forgiveness is a massive part of assertive anger and being able to deal with it, because a willingness to forgive yourself and forgive others is a massive part of being able to be resilient and moving through the emotions of anger. This ideally helps calm you down and helps with your relationships to flourish. Okay, so here we have resilience and anger. And one of my favourite sayings is, "This too shall pass." So emotions and resilience are very closely related. We define resilience as the capacity to prepare for, recover from, and adapt in the face of stress, adversity, trauma, or challenge. Resilience involves our behaviours, thoughts, and the actions we take that anyone can learn and develop. Okay, so the emotions, when we're talking about resilience being closely related, is fear, being able to, anxiety, guilt, shame, embarrassment, betrayal, jealousy, sadness, hurt, worry, all those emotions, those main emotions that we feel around fear, is closely related to resilience, trauma, and how we deal with the stress of those feelings, and how we can basically take control of the situation. Okay, so resilience and anger. Again, resilient people find themselves aware of the situations they are in. They are aware of the emotional reactions that they have, because they reflect before they actually react. And the behavior, and they understand the behavior around those emotions. By remaining aware, they remain in control of the situation. They're able to tackle the problems with a clear perspective. And in many cases, resilient people emerge from adversity and difficult situations with a lot more strength. Okay, so what we have here is some tips around developing resilience around anger. So tip 1, focus on managing your thoughts and emotions. And I think it's really important that you understand and tune in and take notice to your emotional thinking. What are your emotions? What has triggered them? And how do they make you feel and think? Emotions let us know when we need support, whether it be from a friend, whether we need to leave a situation, or even stand up and fight a situation. They allow us to understand how to connect and communicate with ourselves and others, and that's really important. Tip 2, why is mindset so important in this, is when we get ourselves to the situation where we're really thinking about our emotions and able to reflect before we react, it puts us in a different state of mind. It puts us in a space of a growth mindset. And our mindset influences our response to stress, our frameworks for interpreting and evaluating what happens to us in life. Our mindset is based on our beliefs. Okay, so our mindsets impact the way we think, the meaning that we attach to situations, how we choose to act on those situations, the stories we create in our mind around those situations, and the frameworks in which we see the world. And these are not just snapshots. And, you know, well, these are just small snapshots. They're never the full story. If you think about your life as a movie reel, you know, these are just small snapshots. Tip 3 on resilience against anger is notice your thought patterns. Okay, so this in turn creates, when you're going from the thinking about your emotions and how you're feeling, understanding those emotions, being able to reflect before you react, and understanding your thought patterns and the situations, the stories that your mind is creating. And once you can get yourself to that point, you start understanding and taking more notice about the limiting beliefs and negative emotions that your mind is creating. Okay, so being able to understand these thought patterns puts you in a position where it helps you solve problems and reach your potential. So we need to tune into the dialogue in our head. We need to be receptive about the thought patterns in our heads, so we can play the endless movie that we call our lives. We need to understand and we need to know what these thought patterns are, because once we know what they are, we can change them and we can have a more positive outlook. What you need to know from this is that our minds are so neuroplasticity, if you think about it that way, that they grow and learn all the time. There's not one point in your life where your mind cannot grow from a new idea. So you can always change your thought patterns and you can change the results of where you're going. So in summary, remember, anger is a basic human emotion that everybody experiences at some stage. When we deal with anger assertively, you demonstrate that you are mature and care about your relationships and yourself. And I think that's really important. The key is to getting to the root of anger, which may or may not relate to a specific event in your life. In fact, most likely it is tied to some beliefs, some relationships that has spanned through your lifetime. So we need to focus on managing our thoughts, our emotions, and the way we communicate, not just with others, but with ourselves. We have to really consider the self-talk that we're creating in our own minds. And that's where these thought patterns come in. We need to be aware of what they are and turn them around from negative thought patterns to positive thought patterns. Again, we define resilience as the capacity to prepare for, recover from, and adapt in the face of stress, adversity, trauma, or challenges. Okay, so resilience people are aware of their own emotional reactions. They have, they understand the behavior around those emotional reactions, and they're able to maintain and control the situation because they can reflect before they react. So in many cases, people emerge a lot stronger. So back to the 3 tips: focus on managing your thoughts and emotions. Our mindset influences our response to stress, and that's where the anger comes in. Notice what these thought patterns might be and turn them around, reframe them, and bring them out on a more positive keel. Okay. So everyone, thank you for joining me today on how to deal with anger and creating resilience around this emotion. For those of you who registered today, will receive this via email Also, if you were not on the Zoom to watch, thank you to everyone on Facebook for watching. I have a couple of Facebook groups, Professional Women's Collective, also the Empowered Sister. As you can see, if you're on the PowerPoint, you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. I have also added another media outlet, Anchor, Empowering Ordinary Women. I've been uploading the webinars to a podcast, which is called Empowering Ordinary Women. So feel free to join there. In regards to that podcast, I'll also be doing live interviews with other health professionals. So look out for that. The first release of that will be in the new year. So next week, same time, same place, we'll be doing a webinar on growth mindset versus fixed mindset. I'd also like to just take this moment to mention that on the 15th of January, Saturday the 15th of January, yes, it is upon us. The new year is coming. At 10 a.m, I am running a 2-hour workshop, and it is a goal setting workshop to help people move into 2022 with a growth mindset. We'll be setting goals for 2022 to help you create your more compelling future. We'll be looking at a technique called SMART goals, and we will finish the session with a small hypno that will help you reinforce that growth mindset towards your personal compelling future. I will pop the link to that in the comments once I've finished this live. Once again, thank you for joining me. This is Jodie Siemens from Taking Perspective, and I will see you all same place, same time next week. Thanks, guys.